I've covered a lot of bad movies and bad content on this channel lately, but I want to share with you guys that there are some very good movies come out, and I'm going to do a double feature in this video talking about two very excellent animated films that have come out in the theater that I wasn't able to cover before because I was busy with some other things, but I'm just so excited to finally be able to cover some good content and give you guys some positivity and let you know that there are films out there that are amazing right now that you should give your support to. What we're going to talk about today is two films done by veteran animators that have really become a talk on the internet, and both of them may be under threat to bomb still, even though they are amazing films. They are Transformers 1 and The Wild Robot, and they really took people, myself included, by surprise. I would see both of these trailers in the theater, and I really did not think much of the films, but I was very surprised to watch them and find out they might be some of the best movies of the year. We're going to start off by talking about Transformers 1, and this movie has got a big campaign going after it to try to see it at the box office. In fact, infamously, it's the Transformers hype guy on Twitter who latched on to the box office bomb that was Joker for Leia, and he basically, it's very funny. He's very funny the way he attaches himself to every viral tweet or every other movie and somehow makes it about Transformers 1, promoting the film and trying to get people in the theater to watch it, and he's even been acknowledged by the directors at this point. But I think the reason why everybody is gravitating towards him and his single-handed campaign to get this film to be watched is because it's such an honest campaign for a film that actually is very good and is being overlooked. Now, Transformers 1, I want to tell you, I am not a Transformers fan. I had never seen a Transformers movie before this film, and I knew absolutely nothing about it, except I knew Optimus Prime was a thing. I just didn't know anything about him, though I didn't know anything about these characters. But, and I thought that the trailers of Transformers 1 looked really awful. I recently talked on this channel about key-jangling kids films and how awful they are, and I especially feel like kids movies aimed specifically at little boys have the tendency to fall into that the most and fall into the bathroom humor and the dumb humor the most. And that's what Transformers 1 looked like in the trailers came out in the theater, which is why I was going to pay absolutely no attention to it. And to my shock and surprise, when I watched it in the theater, it was absolutely nothing like the trailers portrayed. And the only reason I watched it in the theater is because it was getting such amazing word of mouth. Transformers 1 is actually what everything that I'm talking about kids movies should be. It's actually a surprisingly sophisticated movie that treats its audience with intelligence. And yes, there's comedy, but surprisingly, it's clever comedy that's interlaced throughout the film in order to lighten up the tone a little bit here and there and to lighten up the characters, and it even got a laugh out of me at a couple of intervals. But there was no bathroom humor, there was no dumb humor, and it was actually a very intelligent story. Transformers 1 is about two robots named Orion Pax and D16, and they are forced to work as miners throughout this dictatorship that they are living under, which tells them that that is their greatest purpose. D16 wants to keep his head down and follow orders for the government, while Orion Pax dreams of bigger things than that and wants to bring along D16 in order to change their fate. As the movie progresses, Orion Pax and D16 get into trouble and end up on an adventure along with other robots, Alita 1 and B127, and they wind up uncovering the lies that have kept them under this dictatorship for so long. But while Orion Pax is challenged to become the hero that his world needs, D16 starts to become more angry and radicalized, and his friendship with Orion Pax becomes more and more strained. Once again, this is a very sophisticated movie, and the whole idea and theme of it is being able to rise above oppression and being able to question the reality around you and be open to change. It's about optimism, as said very explicitly about the character Orion Pax in the movie. He dares to want a better life for himself and the people around him, and that is what leads him to uncovering the mystery of his world and overthrowing the tyranny he's been living under. The movie is very good with keeping up a pace of character development and action and humor, but what really shocked me about it the most was the rift between Orion Pax and D16. And once again, this is from somebody who had never seen a Transformers movie before, so I didn't know who these characters were, I didn't know what their relationship would be, but to watch these two best friends all of a sudden have a rift between them and watch one of them, D16, go on a very, very dark path that got gradually darker and darker as the movie went on, I was just so surprised by it all, and surprised that for a movie that I thought was going to be another key jangling kids film that they would dare do that. Because Transformers 1 is an origin story, and you see all these different characters with different names and limitations gradually grow into the characters that they will become in the Transformers franchise. Spoilers, Orion Pax is Optimus Prime. Once, for me, with my completely limited knowledge of Transformers, saw that that's where they were going, I was so surprised and even excited as I watched it. What I would best compare this movie to is Batman Mask of the Phantasm. That is also an animated prequel film that did not get a lot of attention when it came out, but did such an excellent, top-notch job of explaining why our hero is the way he is. And this movie does a great job of explaining each of these different characters, how they started out and how they became what they are most well known as in the Transformers universe. And once again, best thing about the film, it just treats its audience with such intelligence. It's sophisticated in its character development of its themes about rising against tyranny and how one person becomes more heroic in his resolve and more noble, and the other person becomes more violent and more angry. And it's just such a great execution of this story in a way that treats its audience of kids with intelligence and adults can really enjoy as well. It's really for everyone. And the animation was really great too, and Chris Hemsworth, I'm really glad after he's had a little bit of a rough run after Avengers Endgame that he was given this role. He does just such a great job as Optimus Prime, and I really like seeing an actor like him really solidify himself as an action movie star for our ages with all of the different characters that he's done. If I were to give any flaws, it's just I do think that the emotional beats, like for example, the reveal of Megatron as the reveal of Optimus Prime, I feel like it all plays a bit better if you already have more of a knowledge of these characters and that it's really for fans of Transformers. And the only other thing is maybe the churn of D16 could have been more gradual, but I think that they did it pretty well considering the short runtime of this movie. It is a solid 8 out of 10 film, and I would really recommend it to everyone. It is once again the big film on this list that is in danger of bombing at the box office, and as the Transformers hype guy will not let that happen, and we shouldn't either. So please, if you have any time to see a movie, this is one you should see. The creators of this film really cared about the property, and it really shows in this movie, and they deserve to be rewarded for that. Now, the next film I'm going to cover is actually my personal favorite of the two I'm going to cover here, and possibly one of my favorite movies of the year. It's called The Wild Robot, and once again, like Transformers, it's also done by a veteran Disney animator. It's also one that had trailers that made me just roll my eyes and not really think I should pay attention to it, but then it got crazily good reviews, and I thought I better watch it. The Wild Robot is a serious contender for the Best Animated Picture Oscar this year, and it's probably the best animated film I've ever watched that is about being a mother, because you've got this robot that's built to serve, but it accidentally crash lands in a forest area where it meets a bunch of animals that have no intelligence and have absolutely no order and are killing each other and whatnot, which leads to a lot of surprisingly dark humor for a kid's film. But then I had to remember this is a DreamWorks film, so it has a little bit of an edge, but the dark humor was very good. But as this robot explores this landscape, it evolves, it learns how to speak to these creatures, and it starts to evolve its understanding and its purpose. During the beginning of the film, it destroys a goose's nest, leaving only one egg to survive. And that leads it to eventually adopting the gosling and learning how to raise it so that it will live. And which is the entire point of the film, that this robot has to get this gosling that's described as a runt that it will never survive to live. But it faces a lot of challenges, like once the gosling, who it dubs Bright Bill, discovers that it was the accident caused by this robot that killed its real family. So what's really great about this film is that it really expresses the hardships of being a mother and how it's really the hardest job that you can do, because Roz, who is the mother in this case, is constantly evolving. She's constantly adapting to things and making it up as she goes along. She allows herself to be hurt and sacrifices everything just to get this gosling to live and function normally. Even when Bright Bill starts to hate her and not want anything to do with her after it finds out the truth. She wants to do everything and anything in order to get Bright Bill to be able to fly so that he can live normally. And so it really speaks about the sacrifice of being a mother. Meanwhile, while Roz is trying to raise this gosling and get it to live, she evolves to a way to try to help the other animals of the forest and give them an order that they never had. And once again, it's the metaphor of being a mother, that the animals in this film are all representative of children who have no guide and they're all just tearing each other apart. And Roz is the character who comes in and is their mother and sacrifices everything and allows herself to be hurt and allows herself to evolve in order to get them to survive. The animation in this film film is astounding, and there were some really breathtaking moments about it, but it's really just a tearjerker story because of, once again, how well the mother dynamic is portrayed and some of the lines in this film. She has to tell Bright Bill, her Gosling, that everything will be okay as she's making various sacrifices that hurt herself in order to keep him safe. And as he realizes all the sacrifices that she, this robot, has made for him in order just to get him to live. Which there's also themes in there that I really like about how this Gosling is the runt. He's not supposed to live, but that he was worthy of all of the effort in order to get him to live, even though he's the imperfect one. And finally, the score really helps the tearjerker moments of this story, and I've seen it twice now, and there were multiple times in the film where it kind of reminded me of Pixar, where I just couldn't help but almost get teary because of just how well done the emotion in this film was. And a bit like Transformers 1, it's a completely different message, it's a completely different tone, but it does very well at balancing the drama and the action and the comedy in it. There were some funny moments in this film as well. And what Transformers 1 and The Wild Robot have in common is they both treat their child audience with intelligence. They have a lot of themes to explore that are going on. They do not rely on bathroom humor or dumb noises in place of a story. They're both highly sophisticated. They feel like what animated films aimed at kids should be, and they're great for everyone. But what made me love The Wild Robot so much is it reminded me of classic animated films that I used to see. I'm not talking about nostalgia in this case. I just mean that we used to get animated films of this quality all the time, and that's because they were made by these Disney animators who have those skills and can bring this to life and know not to talk down to their audiences. And The Wild Robot in particular just left me reinvigorated for movies when I left it, because I was inspired by just how well done it was and just how great the message of the movie was. I'm like, yeah, we're back. These are the kinds of movies we should be seeing in the theater, and these are the kinds of movies people want to see if they knew about them, because Transformers 1 was really let down by the marketing, and nobody knows what kind of a film it actually is. It also probably was let down by how many bad Transformers films that there have been up to this point, so there might not be new generations coming into it. And The Wild Robot, while it overperformed at the box office, and I saw it in pretty full theaters after I've been seeing movie after movie in empty theaters all year, which really shows its reach. Having just crossed the century mark of $100 million and a budget of $75 million, it could still be doing a lot better, and Transformers 1 really could do a lot better too. I think that these are definitely films that people would want to see, but they just need to know about them and know that they exist and know that these kinds of films are still getting made today, and support them so we can get more films just like this. So that's why I'm doing this video on Transformers 1 and The Wild Robot. The Wild Robot gets a 9 out of 10 for me, and I think that it deserves to win the Oscar this year. So instead of sitting around watching films like Joker, Folie à Deux, or nonsense like that, Megalopolis, go see these animated films with the people who were not pretentious, really cared about the stuff that they were working on, really cared about these characters, and made some great pieces of animation. That's all I got for you guys today. Are there any other great movies and TV shows that you would like me to cover on this channel? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you, patrons, as always. If you would like to support this channel via Patreon, check out the link in the description, and links to my social media is also on there, and I will see you guys next time.